In the vast theater of history, the spotlight often lingers on the familiar empires. Rome, Egypt, China, their stories chiseled into the fabric of time. Yet lurking in the shadows are the empires you've never heard of, whispering tales of grandeur and oblivion. Imagine empires that sprang up like oases in a desert, thriving amidst giants, only to slip into the silence of forgotten scrolls. From the nomadic Khazars embracing Judaism in the steppes, to the Axumites etching churches into African rock, these are not just footnotes. These are testaments to human ambition, resilience, and the ultimate embrace of obscurity. Let us embark across the windswept plains, where the whispers of ancient hooves once echoed, to explore the mysterious rise and fall of the Khazar Empire, an enigmatic Jewish kingdom on the vast Eurasian steppe. This formidable confederation stemmed from semi-nomadic Turkic tribes who crafted a remarkable presence around the 7th century. Here, between Byzantine majesty and the Islamic Caliphate's expanding power, the Khazars carved out their domain by mastering the art of trade and diplomacy. As they harnessed the flow of goods along the Silk Road, the Khazars emerged not as simple nomads but as gatekeepers whose influence stretched from the northern Caucasus to the fertile lands around the Caspian Sea. Their rise was sophisticated and strategic, allowing them to remain autonomous amidst giants through sheer political acumen and military prowess. Governed with astounding adaptability, they shaped a diverse yet unified empire that seemed immune to the fate of larger, more unwieldy states. The Khazars absorbed innovations, integrated cultures, and perhaps most surprisingly, converted to Judaism en masse in the 8th century. This confounding choice has left historians fascinated over the centuries. Was this conversion a masterstroke of diplomacy that struck a balance between keeping Christian and Muslim advances at bay while maintaining their independence? Their conversion wasn't purely a religious maneuver, but a bold assertion of their distinct identity, a marker of sovereignty amid a bifurcated religious world. Adopting elements of Jewish law and Hebrew as a governance language, the Khazars forged a lifestyle uniquely their own. Jewish scholars flocked to their cities, merging theology with governance in unheard-of ways, fostering a tapestry of coexistence where Islam, Christianity, and native beliefs mingled under a Jewish ruling class. In this eclectic empire, cultural diversity wasn't merely tolerated, it thrived. The Khazars attracted a mosaic of peoples, creating an environment where persecuted groups found refuge and coexistence was more norm than exception. Art, literature, and music blossomed amidst the confluence of cultures, driven by the vibrant exchange cradled in their cities. Bustling hubs that echoed with the sounds of lively trade routes connecting east to west. In this crucible, the Khazars' embrace of diversity was their strength, cultivating a society defined by mutual respect and rich philosophical exchange. Yet no empire thrives purely on ideals. The Khazars excelled economically and militarily, vital cogs in their sustained success. Their control over critical trade routes made them a linchpin of the Silk Road's economy. Here, silk and spices flowed as surely as water, and with them, ideas and technologies. This bustling commerce was mirrored in the distinctive clang of minted coins bearing symbols like the Star of David, both a testament to their financial acumen and a proud assertion of cultural identity. Fueled by an economy as sophisticated as it was robust, their military strategies mirrored their diplomatic agility. Khazar warriors, masters of swift and decisive cavalry tactics, patrolled their vast domains with precision. Their open plains enhanced their mobility, allowing for quick, coordinated responses to threats. Their cavalry was legendary, and their military alliances, particularly with Byzantium, highlight a strategic depth that balanced suppression with diplomacy. Despite their prosperity, the Khazars faced swelling tides of external and internal pressures that would herald their decline. The Rus, emerging from the north with Viking intensity, targeted Khazar wealth and influence, while internal strife began eroding cohesion. Succession disputes simmered with religious shifts and economic tensions, while external threats conspired to weaken Khazar resolve. The rolling tide of history is relentless, and as both Byzantine ambition and Rus' strength mounted, the Khazars' dominion started to unravel. By the 10th century, the Khazar Empire's twilight loomed near as critical defeats from the Rus dismantled their power. Their grip over trade routes slackened, cities fell quiet, their bustling marketplaces abandoned. Without monumental ruins to tell their tale, the Khazars faded into history like footprints on sand, their empire a serendipitous ghost echoing the transient nature of power. Assimilation, diaspora, or simply fading into surrounding cultures, what became of them remains a mystery. Despite their disappearance, the Khazars have left echoes resonant across time. Their narratives tease us with lessons of multicultural integration and resilience, a fascinating reminder that history often dances in the shadows of forgotten tales. Scholars have long mulled over their presence since the 19th century, piecing together a picture from shards of ancient texts and stray artifacts. Their story, equal parts history and myth, speaks to something deeply human: the impermanent nature of empire, the relentless march of time. The legacy of the Khazars is rich with intrigue, a captivating tale of strategy, adaptability, and ultimately the quiet endnote of a once mighty power. It serves as a stark reminder in the great archive of history, illustrating that even formidable empires can vanish with barely a trace, yet leave behind whispers of their once great presence. Their narrative endures as a haunting reminder of the past's hold over the present, as real and compelling as any campfire tale spun by the light of forgotten stars. In the highlands of what is now Ethiopia, the Axumite Empire unfurled its banner as an African titan of trade and faith. Nestled at the crossroads of ancient trading routes, Axum was a melting pot where Roman coin clinked against Indian jewels and spices perfumed the air, a sensory marketplace that glistened with ivory and gold. Greek and Roman scribes penned tales of this mysterious empire, where ships loaded with treasures navigated the shimmering Red Sea, forging a legacy that stretched beyond its borders. The city's bustling markets echoed with the chatter of merchants and the rustle of exotic goods, crafting an opulent tapestry that rivaled the great civilizations of its time. But prosperity wasn't only measured by wealth. Axum became a mosaic of cultures where architectural feats rose from the ground, casting long shadows upon the land. Towering stone stelae marked the resting places of kings, their surfaces etched with tales of glory and conquest. These monoliths, some as high as the stars, were more than mere markers. They were storytellers whispering the history of a civilization that spoke through the ancient Ge'ez script, a language still alive in Ethiopian liturgies today. Axum's spirit pulsed with innovation and artistic fervor, where the echoes of distant travelers carried stories from beyond the horizon. Then came a monumental shift as the empire took a bold leap by embracing Christianity in the 4th century, forging a spiritual path before much of Europe had even contemplated such a faith. The transformation was marked by King Ezana's conversion, guided by Frumentius, a Syro-Christian captive whose influence reshaped the kingdom's spiritual fabric. Baptized into the new faith, Ezana championed the Christian ethos, commissioning churches and spreading the doctrine across his realm. This swift embrace of Christianity didn't erase the old ways but wove them into a richer tapestry. Ancient customs danced with Christian symbols, igniting a spiritual fusion that endured. The blend of beliefs enhanced the ruler's legitimacy, imbuing them with a divine right that unified the kingdom and strengthened its foundations. Through the rise of Christianity, Axum's heart beat in stone. In the shadows of its decline, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela echoed its enduring legacy. Carved in the 12th century, these monolithic structures paid homage to Axumite traditions, etched by the hands of skilled artisans under King Lalibela's vision. Designed as a new Jerusalem, each of these 11 sanctuaries bore biblical symbols, breathing an eternal spirit into the rock from which they emerged. Pilgrims from lands far and wide journeyed to this sacred space, where devotion harmonized with nature's grandeur, and the very walls told stories of faith and resilience. The empire's economic prowess also lay mirrored in its coinage, a precursor to modern finance that asserted Axum's standing in the world. Coins cast from gold and silver bore the countenance of kings alongside the Christian cross, blending sovereignty with spirituality. Circulating widely, these coins became tokens of trust across continents, reinforcing Axum's influence from the Roman frontier to the vibrant marketplaces of India. Economic sagacity was Axum's hallmark, where the hum of commerce resonated in ports like Adulis, amplifying its wealth and securing its place as a commercial powerhouse. Yet Axum's tale was not without conflict. Diplomacy was its forte, fostering alliances while navigating the shifting sands of geopolitics. Records from Greek and Armenian scribes recount Axum's astute engagement with empires like Persia and India. Diplomatic dances often involved marriage pacts and economic treaties rather than swords. However, Axum was no stranger to warfare, wielding its naval strength to control the Red Sea and secure its trading veins. The balance of diplomacy and military prowess sustained its dominance, a delicate strategy that played the chessboard of power with grace and guile. As twilight crept upon the empire, Axum faced a confluence of challenges. The 7th and 8th centuries saw external and internal pressures gnawing at its core. Climatic fluctuations, withering the land with drought, eroded its agrarian base, leading to a perilous decline in sustenance. As trade routes diverted due to the rise of Islam, Axum's coffers emptied, weakening its grasp on authority. A shifting geopolitical landscape and internal discord further frayed the empire's unity. As military pressures and societal tensions whispered the beginning of an end, even in collapse, Axum's secrets awaited discovery beneath layers of history. Archaeological endeavors unearthed artifacts that shone light on its intricate society. From clay vessels whispering tales of daily life to coins attesting to its opulence, royal tombs unraveled narratives of spiritual depth, adorned with carvings that echoed a bygone grandeur. Each find stitched together a picture of a society rich in philosophy and ethos. Its remnants are testament to an ancient sophistication. Today, Axum lives on as a cornerstone of Ethiopian identity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, deeply rooted in Axumite Christianity, forms a spiritual bridge to an illustrious past. Festivals and symbols, the iconic Ethiopian cross, pay homage to Axum's indelible imprint. As Ethiopia strides forward, Axum's legend fuels resilience, a beacon of innovation and cultural dynamism. In classrooms and rituals, the empire's legacy breathes, inviting reflection on a chapter of human history where stone and spirit converge to shape an enduring narrative. Imagine, if you will, a tale long whispered by the winds over the Anatolian plains, a story buried beneath layers of earth, obscured by time until it was unearthed like a treasure map to a forgotten past. In the late 19th century, European scholars stumbled upon the remains of the Hittite Empire, which had once lingered in the shadows of historical myths. Initially dismissed as mere folklore, these ancient rulers emerged from obscurity when archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Hattusa, the Hittite capital. Imagine the thrill when thousands of clay tablets surfaced, each etched in cuneiform, revealing the intricacies of a civilization long silenced by the sands of time. These tablets spoke of diplomacy, trade, and warfare, capturing the sophistication of an empire that once echoed through history. At a time when bronze was king, the Hittites achieved a feat of ancient wizardry, the mastery of iron. This metal, harder and more durable, transformed the art of war. It was a secret closely guarded, a gift from the gods themselves, some would say. With iron, the Hittites forged weapons that set them apart, allowing them to stand as a formidable power amidst neighbors who clung to bronze. Their skill in ironwork stood as both metaphor and reality, demonstrating the resilience that defined their empire. As they honed their craft, they not only secured their empire, but paved the way for the Iron Age, a period that would transform civilizations who rose long after the Hittites themselves had fallen. Central to their dominance was the chariot, a symbol of Hittite ingenuity that redefined warfare. Light, fast, and beautifully deadly, their two-wheeled chariots were feats of engineering and strategy combined. Training turned these vehicles into instruments of fear and awe. On the battlefield, they were storms on wheels, charged with the favor of the gods. The Battle of Kadesh is a testament to their prowess, a colossal clash with the Egyptians that still fuels debate among historians regarding its true outcome. Yet its mere scale highlights the tactical innovation the Hittites brought to the ancient stage, a craft not only of iron but of the imagination. In the Hittite world, the divine and political were intertwined as inseparable as shadow and light. Treaties were not simple agreements. They were solemn vows witnessed by the pantheon of gods. The great king, wearing the mantle of both ruler and high priest, bridged the earthly and the spiritual through diplomacy. Take the Treaty of Kadesh, crafted after the famous battle. Inscribed on silver tablets, it stands as one of the earliest international agreements, calling upon divine forces to ensure its terms were upheld. This heavenly blend of reverence and statecraft kept the Hittites bound to powers both celestial and terrestrial, creating a world sustained by faith as much as by soldiers. Against this backdrop of power and spirituality, the city of Hattusa stood as a symbol of the Hittite heart. Its massive fortifications loomed against the horizon, a testament to their need for protection and their architectural prowess. Within this stone embrace lay their archives, filled with secrets and stories, the beating pulse of a society thriving amidst chaos. As you wander its ruins today, you might still hear the whispers of its past inhabitants, as if their spirits linger among the lion gates and palaces, bridging the abyss of time with histories left waiting to be unearthed. Hittite mythology, a complex tapestry of gods and heroes, wove through the fabric of their lives. Imagine tales of Teshub, the storm god, wielding the forces of nature, and Hebat, the nurturing earth mother, her embrace felt in the fertility of the fields. Their myths, carved painstakingly into clay tablets, spoke of cosmic battles and divine intrigue, indicating a universe in eternal flux, reflecting the turbulence of their own existence. Rituals, festivals, and sacrifices were a beat in the rhythm of daily life, ensuring divine favor in times of peace and war alike. Yet, like all empires, the Hittites were not immune to the relentless march of time and calamity. Their fall came not as a crescendo, but as a fading note, muffled by a series of misfortunes: droughts, invasions by the enigmatic sea peoples, and internal discord unraveling their cohesion. As Hattusa crumbled, the Hittite flame flickered out, leaving behind a void filled only with fragmented myths and foreign records. The silence that followed erased them from contemporary memory, yet their echoes endured, subtly influencing the powers that rose in their wake. The rediscovery of the Hittites reanimated this lost empire thanks to the determination of scholars piecing together the past from scattered remnants. The breakthroughs at Boğazköy, revealing the rich archive of Hittite life, reignited interest in their achievements and influence. By shedding light on their history, the Hittites filled a gap in our understanding of cultural interconnectivity in the ancient world. Their story serves as a testament to humankind's enduring drive for innovation, faith, and empire building. Today, the Hittite Empire offers lessons on power's precarious nature, on innovation as a double-edged sword, and on adaptability as a necessity for survival. While lost for centuries, their influence subtly pervades our culture, re-emerging in stories and media, a rekindled curiosity for their world. Their tale reminds us of the transient nature of empires and the enduring legacy of legends reborn, giving voice again to a society that once reverberated with the clamor of chariots and the whispers of the gods. Once amidst the turmoil of the Fourth Crusade, a tale of unexpected conquest unfolded in 1204. A mission set to reclaim Jerusalem took a stunning detour as crusaders, ensnared by debts and political intrigue, turned their gaze toward Constantinople. They stormed the grand city, a mosaic of ancient relics and golden splendor, but not as a force of Islam, rather as Christians taking from Christians. This act blurred alliances and sowed distrust across Christendom, a paradox that shifted the entire world order. Walls that had witnessed centuries of Byzantine glory now echoed with betrayal, and treasures of faith became mere spoils for disillusioned warriors. From the disastrous fall of Constantinople arose the Latin Empire, a fledgling realm built upon this grand ruin. Imagine the opulent Byzantine palaces seized by Latin lords, where foreign tongues now filled the halls that once resonated with Eastern chants. It was a patchwork state, an awkward hybrid of cultures, never meant to fill the shoes of Byzantium. Laden with suspicion and never truly trusted by its orthodox subjects, the Latin Empire struggled with its identity from inception. It teetered like a top-heavy tower, challenged from within by ambitious leaders who understood conquest but not governance. Cultural clashes between the Latin rulers and Byzantine Greeks proved insurmountable. The Western traditions of the newcomers disrupted the time-honored Byzantine systems. Latin cavalry trod streets once vibrant with Byzantine customs, while Byzantine Greeks bristled at what felt like unwelcome guests in their own city. Overlooking these deep cultural ties, the Latin lords attempted to impose their way of life, alienating those they sought to govern. This was not just a change of leadership. It was an affront to an entire way of life, fueling a silent war of identity rather than arms. Beyond the walls, the Latin Empire faced external threats from every direction. Bulgarians, the Nicaean Empire, and Byzantine exiles all watched, eager to reclaim lands lost to the ambitious but faltering Latin rulers. The empire's defensive strategies were weak, alliances fragile, as it was sworn by adversaries who held both grudges and claims. Battles like Adrianople in 1205 served brutal reminders of the empire's vulnerability, with its forces often routed by more cohesive foes. Despite its formidable walls, Constantinople could offer little assurance against leaders driven by revenge and aspiration. Within, the empire battled corruption and ineptitude. Ambitions ran unchecked amongst nobles who saw personal enrichment as a higher calling than the empire's prosperity. Like termites in rotted wood, corruption gnawed at the empire's core. Part-time soldiers and unreliable mercenaries augmented the ranks, leaving the population vulnerable. Allegiances bought and sold left governance a faint shadow of its intended grandeur. The Latin Empire became a cautionary tale, a study in how power and ambition, unsupported by unity, led to swift decline. Meanwhile, the Empire of Nicaea grew in strength from the Byzantine ashes, a beacon of resilience and determination, forged by survivors and visionaries. Nicaea set its sights on Constantinople, the jewel it longed to reclaim. Nicaean rulers, methodical and strategic, launched campaigns that chipped steadily at Latin holdings. Military victories were complemented by shrewd diplomacy, slowly isolating the Latin rulers as Nicaea expanded its influence and reclaimed its legacy. Every triumph restored faith in territory, painting the path back to sovereignty and cultural renaissance. By 1261, the ambitions of the Latin Empire succumbed to Byzantine resurgence. Seizing a chance left by complacent Latin defenses, Byzantine forces under Michael VIII Palaiologos struck with precision. The mighty city, its once impregnable walls now porous, watched as Latin flags fell and Byzantine banners rose anew. For Michael, reclaiming Constantinople was more than strategic. It was a symbolic return to origins, woven deeply with poetic justice and historical echo. The city re-entered Byzantine hands, a homecoming that resonated with continuity amidst turmoil. The Latin Empire, brief in existence yet deep in impact, faded like sandcastles before the tide. However, it remained ingrained within history's fabric, a testament to ambition's uncontrolled reach. Though it failed to secure lasting glory, the lessons gleaned endured far beyond, marking the intricate dance between power and culture amidst shifting sands. Its echoes whispered through Byzantine corridors, recounting its meteoric rise and inevitable fall, a chapter where conquest had gained little permanence. In the aftermath, cultural exchanges enriched Eastern and Western practices. Despite initial imposition, Latin practices influenced Orthodox rituals, and Byzantine art seeped into Western portrayals. Artifacts and mementos unearthed speak not merely of conquest, but of layered histories where arms met art, creating lasting legacies. Thus, the Latin Empire, though a fleeting entity, left nuanced traces in the broader tapestry of history, subtle and complex, much like the empires that both rose and fell alongside it. In the wake of Constantinople's fall to the Fourth Crusaders in 1204, the fractured landscape of the Byzantine world gave birth to a new entity on the Black Sea coast, the Empire of Trebizond. Founded by Alexios I Komnenos, a member of the exiled Byzantine imperial family, this small but determined empire arose within the mountainous embrace of an ancient trade hub. The city of Trebizond, once bustling with commerce, became the empire's lifeline, taking advantage of its fertile lands and strategic position to control key trade routes between Europe and Asia. Despite its isolation, Trebizond cultivated an air of mystery and resilience, weaving into its fabric the echoes of a once mighty Byzantine tradition, blended with the region's diverse customs. Trebizond soon blossomed into a cultural and intellectual sanctuary. Its rulers embraced the arts and scholarship, fostering a cultural tapestry as intricate as their famed mosaics. The empire's position along the Silk Road transformed it into a vibrant melting pot, where Byzantine art and literature thrived alongside Persian, Armenian, and Georgian influences. The capital's frescoes and mosaics mirrored the grandeur of Constantinople, while caravans brought not only silk and spices, but also ideas and philosophies. This blend of cultures and traditions under the Komnenos dynasty created a vibrant, albeit complex, social fabric, a place where Persian poets found kinship with Byzantine scholars and Armenian traders made deals with Georgian merchants. Survival in Trebizond required adept political maneuvering, sandwiched as it was between the rising Seljuks, resurgent Byzantines, and expansive Mongols. The emperors of Trebizond refined diplomacy into an art form, expertly playing stronger powers against each other to sustain their empire. They crafted alliances with the precision of a stonemason fitting stones, acknowledging the necessity of yielding when needed, but fiercely safeguarding their sovereignty. The mountainous terrain provided a fortress, a natural defense that allowed them to secure their borders and resources. This strategic cultivation extended to the Black Sea trade, where the empire thrived economically by levying tolls and maintaining a lucrative exchange of silk and spices amidst the political upheavals. Economic prosperity in Trebizond was intertwined with its position as a key player on the Silk Road. The bustling port of Trebizond facilitated an extensive trade network, filling its harbors with silks, spices, and metals, underpinning its economic foundation with a steady flow of tariffs and taxes. The fertile lands beyond its coastal mountains further boosted its prosperity, dotted with olive groves and vineyards that sustained both the populace and the treasury. This financial stability allowed Trebizond citizens to enjoy a relatively high standard of living compared to other Byzantine remnants. Merchants and artisans flocked to the city, enriching the cultural and intellectual landscape and underscoring Trebizond's presence on the fringes of empire. Amidst the empire's prosperity, the lives of the common folks and the aristocracy diverged, yet remained intertwined by the land's bounty and the demands of survival. Peasants toiled amidst the fertile valleys, their days dictated by the rhythms of agricultural cycles, marked by communal celebrations and spiritual gatherings. Despite their arduous labor, they found solace in the empire's religious and cultural life. Meanwhile, the aristocracy inhabited a world of privilege, navigating intricate political landscapes while indulging in the arts and intellectual pursuits. The noble estates symbolized opulence, yet their tenants understood their fortunes were tied to Trebizond's precarious balance of power, relying on the labor of those who worked the lands. Religion played a pivotal role in shaping Trebizond's identity, casting it as a spiritual bastion amidst a sea of adversaries. The Orthodox Christian faith unified its people and legitimized the rule of the Komnenos dynasty. Monasteries and churches dotted the land, serving as centers of learning and faith, their illuminated manuscripts and rich artwork reflecting a blend of Byzantine, Armenian, and Georgian traditions. The clifftop Sumela Monastery stood as a testament to this spiritual and architectural prowess, a beacon on the rugged landscape. Religious ceremonies and festivals, with their grand processions and venerated relics, reinforced community bonds and spiritual continuity. However, Trebizond's existence was ever threatened by external foes and internal discord. The Mongols, casting a long shadow from the east, loomed large, their fluctuating favor a delicate balance for the Trebizondine emperors to manage. To the south, the Seljuk Turks remained a persistent threat. Additionally, internal power struggles among noble families tested the empire's stability, leading to occasional civil strife that diverted focus from external dangers. Despite these challenges, Trebizond's emperors mastered the art of survival, playing the delicate game of diplomacy, military preparedness, and strategic tribute. In the 15th century, the Empire of Trebizond faced its greatest challenge as the Ottomans, under Sultan Mehmed II, turned their sights upon it. The ensuing conquest in 1461 saw the empire's defenses crumble under Ottoman might, extinguishing this Byzantine enclave. Yet even in defeat, Trebizond's legacy endured. Its architectural marvels, scholarly contributions, and cultural tales persisted, leaving an indelible mark on history. The rocky landscape still whispers stories of this bygone era, its echoes a haunting reminder of Trebizond's flame that burned brightly, albeit briefly, against the tides of time and empire. In the heart of the Indonesian archipelago lay the Majapahit Empire, a monumental force hidden from much of today's global narrative, but rich with tales of grandeur and influence. Imagine Java not as a mere island, but as the pulsating center of a naval empire during the 14th century, its reach expanding through a web of 98 tributaries across maritime Southeast Asia. Spices were its lifeblood. Cloves and nutmeg mingled in the salty air of its bustling ports, where trade languages converged. The scene unfolds like a living tapestry, vibrant and aromatic, with ships' colorful sails dotting the horizon as they navigated the waterways that were both commerce roads and cultural conduits. Majapahit thrived not on brute force, but by weaving a delicate syncretism of Hinduism, Buddhism, and animist traditions, crafting a singular mosaic of spiritual and cultural identity. The empire's journey started in the tumultuous decline of the Singasari kingdom. A young prince named Raden Wijaya founded Majapahit in 1293. Born from adversity amidst Mongol threats and domestic turmoil, the empire took its name from the Maja fruit, a nod to the bitter origins of a future sweetened by dominion. Wijaya's ascent was marked by shrewd alliances and strategic cunning, navigating betrayals and capitalizing on Java's natural trade routes. His legacy laid the foundation for an empire that rose from regional power to a central figure in Southeast Asia, underpinned by its seafaring prowess and diplomatic finesse. The 14th century heralded the golden age of Majapahit under the leadership of the legendary Prime Minister Gajah Mada. His vow, the Sumpah Palapa, to unite the archipelago became a cornerstone of his political and military blueprint. Gajah Mada's vision transformed Majapahit into a regional superpower, not merely through conquest but by masterfully intertwining swords with trade and sacred texts. Under his guidance, culture flourished. Epic poetry like the Nagara Kreta Gama flourished, detailing an idealized kingdom where spiritual and economic achievements were inextricably linked. Majapahit's ports buzzed with traders from India, China, and beyond, creating a linchpin for the empire's dominance in trade, especially with its famed gold, textiles, and rice exports. This era was a vibrant tapestry of rituals, commerce, and grand ceremony. Majapahit's naval supremacy was legendary, its fleets personifying the empire's lifeline in its defense. Commanding massive fleets of warships known as junks, the empire's engineers honed their designs by amalgamating indigenous methods with borrowed innovations. This naval prowess was notably tested against the Mongol threat, where Majapahit forces deftly maneuvered through the archipelago's complex terrains, turning the tide against larger forces. The fleet's dominance secured more than just defensive victories. It facilitated cultural exchanges and safeguarded the empire's trade routes. Life within the Majapahit courts was an intricate play of opulence and ritual, woven with the empire's Hindu-Buddhist ethos. Politics, ceremony, and spirituality converged in grand events marking royal milestones, intertwined with the court's daily governance. Scholars, poets, and emissaries filled these courts, their narratives blending majesty with mundane realities. The society was a vivid contrast of sumptuous elite feasts and communal ceremonies binding commoners in shared reverence. Even as we delve into Majapahit's practices, we find syncretic beliefs meshed with every facet of life. The emperor, seen as a divine intermediary, ruled a world animated by spirits and myths. Rituals were soaked in the mystical, punctuating both governance and daily life. From protective amulets to palace sorcery, these practices reflected a universal quest for order, revealing a peculiar yet poignant parallel to today's world. The empire's untempered influence branched into the famed spice and silk routes, commanding major maritime channels connecting Asian civilizations. Trade was not mere commerce, but a tradition-entrenched lifestyle, where spices like cloves and nutmeg held both economic power and mystical allure. Revered for their preservative properties and intoxicating scents, the empire stood as more than a trade hub. It was a crossroads of culture, where merchants became ambassadors, weaving diplomacy into commerce. Bustling ports reflected strategic thought critical for geopolitics, as they were for spreading the perfume whispers of economic power that transcended culture and time. However, by the late 15th century, the empire faced inevitable decline. Internal strife, filled with political intrigue and succession disputes, unraveled its once cohesive rule. Rising Islam heralded a cultural and political shift that challenged the Hindu-Buddhist traditions. Along with changing trade dynamics favoring Islamic sultanates, the Majapahites' maritime supremacy eroded. Once invincible fleets were silenced, palaces fell into disrepair, silent monuments of a fading civilization swallowed by inevitable change. Yet the cultural imprint of Majapahit endures. Its architecture and art remain etched into the landscape and memory, seen in the temples of Trowulan and echoed in shadow puppet plays like Wayang Kulit. These remnants offer a bridge to modern Indonesian identity, where ceremonial rites and dances trace threads back to their Majapahit origins. Far from being footnotes, these are living testaments of a rich past. As jungles reclaim ruined grandeur, they remind us of history's repetitive cycles, leaving behind enduring narratives amidst silent stones. These echoes carry forward, whispering tales of resilience wrapped in the allure of what once was. If this strange little slice of medieval life stirred your curiosity or your stomach, give us a like. And if you're hungry for more gritty tales from the dark side of history, subscribe to Medieval Grime. We serve our history smoked, salted, and a little bit cheeky. Thanks for watching. Stay grimy, and we'll see you next time by the fire. In the windswept deserts of northwestern China, a tapestry of sand and whispers hides the tale of the Western Xia, a kingdom once vibrant, now veiled in obscurity. Amongst histories overshadowed by grander narratives, the Tanguts, the people of this forgotten realm, etch their story through the relentless passage of time. Straddling the Silk Road, this empire flourished for nearly 2 centuries, a sanctuary of unique script and steadfast Buddhist devotion, only to crumble under the uncompromising force of Genghis Khan's Mongol legions. Imagine an empire speaking its own language, constructing cities that rose defiantly against the harsh desert, and crafting a tapestry of governance and culture now buried beneath history's relentless sands. The Tangut people, with roots in the Tibetan plateau, were architects of an identity woven with threads of language and resistance. Their script, an emblem of defiance against cultural domination, became a pillar of their administrative and everyday life. Fervently Buddhist, they adorned the landscape with monasteries that whispered tales of spiritual introspection and resilience, embodying beliefs that anchored their lives amidst existential uncertainties. Art infused with Buddhist iconography mirrored their aspirations and preoccupations, drawing a boundary of identity as distinct as it was profound. Western Xia's geographic stage, nestled between the Ordos Desert and the Tibetan Plateau's rugged heights, was as much a strategic fortress as a bastion of life. Cities built of rammed earth stood like silent sentinels, their designs speaking of survival bent on resilience. The air carried scents of incense from grand monasteries where statues told stories through their silent gazes. Amid the arid landscape, irrigation defied nature's severity, nurturing the growth of communities touched by prosperity and burdened by the ever-looming threat of Mongol ambitions. The empire's pulse thrived along the Silk Road, prosperity humming through its veins as traders bearing silk, spices, and gems converged within its borders. This lifeline brimmed with exchange, transforming Western Xia into a hub where ideas mingled as freely as goods. Yet wealth painted a target, an invitation for the Mongol gaze, ever hungry to fixate on conquest. The Silk Road was a thoroughfare of destiny, ushering in opulence even as whispers of impending siege sang through its pathways. In Western Xia's heart, art and literature bloomed, forging a cultural tradition both exquisite and ephemeral. Intricate murals and sculptures transcended mere decoration, speaking instead of a worldview, awash in color and contemplation. Tangut literature aimed to insulate their identity, translating Buddhist texts into their own tongue, preserving wisdom deep within their cultural soul. This intellectual blossoming offered short-lived resonance, as much of it was swept away by the storm of Mongol destruction, leaving behind scant clues to the empire's splendor. The Western Xia army, trained to outpace and outmaneuver foes, was the empire's backbone, shoring up its borders against formidable adversaries. Battle-hardened cavalry mirrored the feared Mongol horsemen. Bogged in a tango of tactics and terrain, early skirmishes saw Tangut forces, fortified by their land's challenges, stubbornly resisting Mongol aggression. But the Mongols, resilient and ingeniously adaptive, soon bent warfare to their ruthless designs, employing siege tactics that eroded both fortifications and resolve. Western Xia's demise was a saga of erasure, marked by the menace of Mongol might. In 1226, Genghis Khan's wrath spared little. Cities burned to cinders, chronicles turned to ash, and the Tangut script, once a cornerstone of self, faded from memory as if it had never been. This total obliteration was less conquest and more a maelstrom of history's obliteration, a brutal stratagem ensuring no phoenix would rise from these scorched ruins. This quietude in destruction underscores the ephemeral nature of empires, leaving Western Xia's existence a faint echo among the chronicles of conquest. Yet time, ever the curator, uncovered fragments of this bygone era for modern eyes. Archaeologists delved into the sands to unearth remnants of city walls and faded scripts, offering glimpses into Tangut achievement and resilience. These finds whispered of a culture both sophisticated and singular in its ambitions, and provided a portal into a world where silence had reigned for centuries. In our contemporary reflection, Western Xia resurfaces not merely as a yarn spun into the vast fabric of history, but as a reminder of the transient, intricate dance defining human power and memory. Its story unfolds within the larger epic of Asia's medieval saga, prompting us to reconsider forgotten narratives that have shaped our collective past. This tale is an ode to the murmurs carried across ages, a reminder that history's vast scroll holds voices speaking from beyond grave shadows. Across the breadth of time, Western Xia's story unfurls as a whisper among roars, beseeching us to cherish and learn from the legacies concealed within the margins of recorded history. It echoes a reflection of what it means to rise, to fall, and to persist beyond fleeting remembrance, crafting an indelible impression on the societal memory. Hidden in the rugged embrace of modern-day Oaxaca, the Zapotec civilization thrived for over 1,000 years, crafting a tale woven with ingenuity and spirit. Around 500 BCE, these pioneers settled in the fertile valleys, anointing the land both as a cradle and a crossroads. Amid active volcanoes, the Zapotecs nurtured maize, beans, and squash, transforming the bounty into sustained settlements that vibrated with life. In Oaxaca's vibrant tapestry, natural resources melded seamlessly with Zapotec cultural fabric. The verdant terrain, nurtured with terrace farming and irrigation, wasn't just sustenance, it sculpted social dynamics, creating thriving urban centers. The Zapotecs walked a world alive with spiritual undertones, revering mountains, rivers, and skies as sacred domains of their gods and ancestors. The land wasn't just scenery, it sang in myths, art, and rituals, echoing a profound tie between earth and identity. Amidst this lively vista, Monte Alban rose majestically atop a flattened ridge, standing as both the political and cultural heartbeat of Zapotec society. Founded around the same time as the civilization itself, this city wasn't merely constructed, it was envisioned. Its splendid plazas, resplendent ceremonial platforms, and towering pyramids declared power across the valleys. Not just stone and mortar, Monte Alban was a living metropolis where artisans fashioned exquisite pieces, astronomers plotted the enigmatic heavens, and priests unfurled rituals that mirrored social and spiritual hierarchies. Monte Alban reached into the cores of other Mesoamerican cultures, its elaborate trade routes and intellectual exchanges drawing threads from far lands. Craftsmanship thrived, knowledge flourished, and ceremonial wonders echoed, binding the practical with the mystical in a cosmic embrace. Yet what truly etched Zapotec achievements into the stones were their glyphs. These first hints of a writing system, inscribed on monuments and ceramics, unraveled stories of royal lineages, calendrical rhythms, and spiritual dialogues. Though enigmatic to modern scholars, these glyphs whispered a rich legacy of language, their meaning entwined with both earthly and celestial cycles. Central to Zapotec existence was a kaleidoscope of religion and ritual, seamlessly interlacing mythology, astronomy, and divine reverence. Gods, embodiments of natural forces, agriculture, and fertility, presented their own pantheon, appeased through ceremonies perched atop Monte Alban's sacred pyramids. Here priests conducted rites calling upon the heavenly to dance with the earthly in synchronicity. A rhythm echoed in the city's heartbeat. Beyond spiritual resonance, these rituals underscored social harmony, marking profound ceremonies within the city's life. A cacophony of celebration, these spectacles wove music, dance, and procession into cohesive manifestations of faith and identity. Yet beneath these grand rituals, more intimate devotions occurred within the span of humble shrines, their presence marking a pervasive spirituality, anchoring both public and private life. In such roles, palpable yet ethereal, rituals smeared the lines between the sacred and the mundane, threading through everyday life and belief. Warfare played another chord in Zapotec composition, its presence essential in shaping both internal landscapes and external interactions. Monte Alban proudly displayed formidable defenses, yet the Zapotecs weren't strangers to conflict. Battles were waged to defend, to dominate trade, to expand mythos. Valiant victories attracted prestige, resources, and captives, some destined for spiritual offerings. Yet as fierce as they wielded militaristic might, the Zapotecs also excelled in the art of diplomacy. Navigating intricate alliances with neighboring Mixtecs and others, they forged connections through marriage and cultural exchange, allowing power to linger gracefully. Such deft balance of conflict and concord enabled their civilization to weather the ever-changing winds of pre-Columbian politics, carving a resilient niche into the tumultuous realm. Underscoring this tapestry of power was a society structured on clear hierarchies. City dwellers, entrenched in Monte Alban's embrace, while agrarians cultivated the fields beyond. Elites, priests, warriors, and nobles shaped the spiritual and material welfare from opulent stone mansions, their power resting on intricate dynamisms and devotion. The commoners, entrenched in their adobe shelters, thrummed with the rhythm of earth and sky, ensuring the pulse of Zapotec survival and prosperity through lifetimes of toil and craft. Their daily ebbs and flows mirrored the beat of the soil and seasons, markets alive with the clamor of trade, diets centered on corn and spiced with communal spirit. Society danced entwined with religious milestones and celestial phenomena, strengthening the invisible chords of community beneath the silent testimony of the stars. Craftsmanship and innovation inked the fabric of Zapotec identity, translating cultural whispers into vivid art and architecture. From the elaborate facades of Monte Alban to precious pottery and enticing textiles, each creation was a testament to their world, stories preserved in tangible forms. The Zapotec spirit, etched in ingenuity, shaped not only structures, but the very soil, adapting through agricultural prowess and environmental adaptation, allowing them to thrive against challenges. Yet empires hold firm only within the embrace of time, and with time, the Zapotecs waned. Their decline wasn't an abrupt decrescendo, but a subtle diminuendo, a fusion of internal dissonance and external pressures. As the Mixtec prominence crescendoed, their influence folded into a broader cultural amalgam, leaving behind not desolation, but an enduring cultural resonance. Long after Mixtec voices fell silent, Monte Alban's secrets were gradually revealed by devoted archaeologists. Each excavated artifact, each discovered glyph, breathed life into echoing silence, unwrapping layers of Zapotec intricacy and ingenuity. Each whisper from the archaeologists unveils layers obscured by history's veil, reminding us of the rich complexity beyond familiar myths of Aztecs and Maya. Today, Oaxaca hums with the legacy of its ancestors, where living Zapotec communities safeguard their cultural treasures, breathing life into an ancient dialogue with time. In the echo of their rise and the delicate fall, the Zapotecs left not just ruins, but a reminder of human tenacity. Echoes of their voices, tattooed in glyphs, whisper lessons across time, a testament to resilience that defies silent erasure, embracing complex histories and shared human truths. In the warm, humid heart of maritime Southeast Asia, there once thrived an empire, both vibrant and elusive, Srivijaya. This formidable trade titan, nestled on the island of Sumatra in present-day Indonesia, commanded the crucial Strait of Malacca with both savvy diplomacy and formidable naval prowess. From the 7th to the 13th century, Srivijaya was a polyglot society, its bustling ports alive with the clatter of commerce, voices blending in myriad languages, Chinese, Indian, and Arabic traders mingling together amidst the scent of spices and dense jungle air. Yet the grand story of Srivijaya often slips through the cracks of popular history, overshadowed by empires of conquest and armies. As a conduit for cultural and economic exchange, Srivijaya played host to Buddhist monks traveling up from the south, carrying the light of their creed, while Arab and Indian merchants filled the air with tales of distant lands and the promise of profit. Srivijaya's influence was as profound as it was unassuming, its power flowing not through weapons, but through lines of trade and tides of thought. At its zenith, Srivijaya thrived on the wealth of the seas. The empire harnessed monsoon winds that filled sails and propelled fleets across vast blue expanses, asserting its mastery over the sea lanes. In controlling this pivotal maritime artery, this empire didn't just hoard wealth, it shaped the narrative of cultural exchange across the region, welcoming a confluence of ideas to ebb and flow through its harbors. This peaceful dominance underscored a unique approach to empire building, built not on land but on waves, tendrils of influence stretching across the Indo-Malay archipelago. Palembang, the vibrant nerve center of Srivijaya, teemed with life and commerce. Picture markets bustling with activity, traders hawking ivory and silk amidst the hum of human voices and the clamor of packed stalls. Here, a cultural mosaic unfolded, a testament to the cosmopolitan character of an empire that embraced diversity and fostered dialogue. Languages intermingled, new philosophies took root, and religious exchanges flourished, a vivid tapestry woven from the threads of many cultures and beliefs. The spiritual pulse of this world throbbed from Buddhist stupas and monasteries where scholars and monks gathered, saffron robes a striking contrast against lush green surroundings, fidelity and faith binding them to a common purpose. Srivijayan monarchs, fervent patrons of Buddhism, transformed their realm into a sanctuary of learning. Here, Buddhism found fertile ground to adapt and thrive, the doctrines blossoming into local interpretations as novel as the tropical flora. The spiritual and cultural exchanges orchestrated by Srivijayan monks extended beyond their shores, notably echoing in the journey of I Ching, an eminent Buddhist scholar whose studies in Srivijaya enriched his thought and later his transformative influence on Tibetan Buddhism. Yet like any beacon of human endeavor, Srivijaya too faced the inexorable tide of decline. By the 13th century, this empire of maritime prowess began to wane, its dominance eroded by shifting trade routes, internal discord, and rising powers like the Javanese Majapahit. The once bustling straits, with ships cutting swift paths through cerulean waters, began to fall silent, still shadows of the thriving arteries they once were. Islam's inexorable spread across the region saw a transformation in religious landscapes, further loosening Srivijaya's grip on influence, until it gradually receded into the quiet hum of history, a slow, dignified departure rather than a catastrophic fall. The veil over Srivijaya was not lifted until the early 20th century, when scholars like George Khazars undertook the painstaking task of piecing together its history, deciphering faded inscriptions, and traversing forgotten paths. Their discoveries vital in coloring the neglected sketch of Srivijaya back to life. Through dense jungles and beneath layers of soil, remnants whispered of the empire's grand narrative. Elegantly carved stone, artifacts worn smooth by time, each a clue to the tapestry of life and power. Today, Srivijaya's influence is subtly interwoven into the cultural fabric of Southeast Asia. Its legacy endures in the rich traditions of trade, maritime governance, and the enduring cultural synthesis visible within the nation-states of the region. While the artifacts of stone and metal may glitter, its deep spiritual and cultural impact glows brighter still, resonating in the shared histories of its descendants. The Srivijaya story serves as a compelling reminder of a world once connected by trade wines and spiritual pursuits, a narrative that speaks of resilience and cultural illumination against the tides of history. As we reflect on Srivijaya and its like, we encounter the impermanence of power wielded upon the land and sea. Empires rise and subside, but their stories endure, echoing from within forgotten ruins, and spirited into the present through tireless exploration and discovery. Srivijaya's rediscovery enriches the historical tapestry, speaking of the human spirit's resilience, its perpetual quest for knowledge, and the richness found in nurturing a legacy of cultural strength rather than mere territorial dominion. In the aftermath of mighty empires, an eerie silence settles. A silence that, in its own unassuming way, transforms or obliterates the remnants of power. This silence is not simply an absence of noise, but a tapestry of forgotten stories, echoes of lost tongues and artifacts slowly eroding under the relentless weight of time. It reminds us that power, no matter how immense, is ephemeral, ultimately yielding to the quiet force of history. This silence often results not from dramatic upheavals, but from the mundane realities of bureaucracy and decay. Take the Western Roman Empire, whose downfall was not just from barbarian invasions, but from logistical failures and economic strain. The silence that followed was laden with lessons from a world that shaped the future, yet faded from memory. Here we unravel how empires often succumb more to the mundane than the spectacular. Empires sometimes collapse under the labyrinth of their own bureaucracies. Governance becomes so convoluted that it stifles itself. The Byzantine Empire, for instance, had a robust bureaucratic system that, while effective during stable times, became an unwieldy mess during a crisis. Complex tax codes and overgrown administrative networks hindered decision-making, leading to stagnation. A similar fate befell the Tang dynasty in China, where bureaucracy became rigid and self-serving in the face of rebellion. The paradox is striking. The intricate system sustaining peace can precipitate demise when conditions change. While history often highlights dramatic conclusions, many empires decline slowly through neglect. The Roman Empire again offers a classic example. As political focus shifted, frontiers became difficult to manage, and once vibrant cities turned into silent specters. Roads that hosted legions and traders disintegrated, and aqueducts ran dry. Large empires struggled to maintain cohesion over vast territories. The lack of consistent oversight fueled the silent unraveling, unnoticed until it's too late. Yet while some regions adapted to independence, others simply disappeared. Hence, the silence of decline doesn't suggest emptiness. It signifies the quiet hum of life adapting, thriving, or vanishing beyond the world's sights. Beyond natural decay, some empires faced deliberate cultural erasure. The Mongols, when they decimated the Western Xia, aimed not just for conquest but obliteration. Intent on erasing Tangut culture, their actions underscore the fragility of cultural memory, easily erased when power employs silence. The destruction isn't always total. Echoes persist in folklore, ruins, or artifacts excavated by archaeologists. Consider the Khmer Empire, whose majestic temples like Angkor Wat draw awe. While physical remnants endure, much of their cultural depth was lost, reshaped by new rulers. It's an empire partly remembered, enveloped in mystery, its stories fragmented across time. Languages often perish with the empires that spawned them, silencing vast knowledge and cultures. The Sogdian language, pivotal in trade, faded with its empire. Yet its traces linger in place names and writings. Not all languages vanish quietly. Some, like Latin, persist beyond their empires, evolving into legal, scientific, and religious tongues. These dominant tongues live on in the words and grammars of successors, signaling that the death of one language can mean transformation rather than disappearance, a silent evolution into new forms and flavors. Amidst fading words, stone bears witness. Monuments and ruins silently testify to past glories in defiance of destruction. Structures like Persepolis' pillars or Axum's stelae whisper tales of grandeur and oblivion, reminding us of the transient nature of power. These monuments stir imagination, allowing us to envision life in now-fallen cities. Tumbled stones and solitary columns tell narratives not just of how an empire fell, but how it thrived. Ruins unwillingly conspiring with time ensure some stories never vanish, remaining eternally tantalizing, inviting us to ponder history's impermanence. As empires decline, superstitions often flourish, acting as guardians of cultures on the brink of silence. These beliefs, far from being dismissed as relics, are powerful forces. Viking settlements in Greenland are wrapped in myths of curses long after their abandonment. Such superstitions embedded within folklore provide cultural deposits, a means by which societies remember and process decline. As they intertwine with new beliefs, they preserve fragments of ancient worlds. Protected by superstitions, the past finds steadfast guards in lore, reaching audiences receptive to such tales and others curious about their foundations. When silence descends, the remnants of fallen empires often lead to unlikely legacies. The Umayyad Caliphate's fall birthed the Abbasids, who expanded cultural and scientific achievements, sparking a vibrant renaissance. Similarly, former empires crafted new identities in independent states, carrying cultural elements forward. The Majapahit Empire's ghost lingers in modern Indonesian art, showcasing resilience. This adaptability highlights how silence doesn't denote oblivion, but metamorphosis, an echo through cultural continuity, whether intentionally preserved or inadvertently sustained. In contemporary times, the lessons from these silences resonate. Modern societies, with their global ambitions, might heed past failures. Empires didn't always fall at convenient moments. Power dynamics shifted, often visible only in hindsight. As cultures navigate globalization, the memory of ancient empires offers insights into preserving diversity. The Khazar Empire, choosing a religion distinct from neighbors, challenges norms of conformity, reminding us that diversity too can strengthen empires. Ultimately, the silence following an empire's fall becomes both a reflection and a cautionary tale, underscoring how echoes, not just their absence, carry wisdom. In this silence that follows power, untold stories await rediscovery, not just recording the cessation of power or dispersal of people, but as a testament to life's impermanence. Amongst silence lies resilience, whispers of ruins, echoes of languages, the tight grip of culture on modern society. The past's muted voices pervade contemporary life, inviting curiosity about how we perceive history. Through these forgotten empires, we learn might and prosperity alone cannot fend off time, and remembrance lies in stories we choose to tell, or silence allowed to reign. While empires fall, their echoes endure, offering narratives and reminders that help guide us through history's horizon.